Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FTU Life After the Military. I'm your host, Tony Rodriguez. Today is June 15th, 2024. It's a hot, humid day here in North Carolina, and I just attended the Dave Matthews Band concert last night up in Raleigh. And that was an event because I was surrounded by about 20,000 hippies. I felt like Eric Cartman in the episode of South Park when South Park is being invaded by hippies and he's doing everything he can to get rid of them, and the town won't listen to him. And eventually he has to get rid of them by playing, I forget which band, some heavy metal band to get rid of them. But it was a good concert. The people there were enjoying themselves. It takes me into my topic, right? So I don't hide it. I discuss it openly that I do experience symptoms of PTS. I don't call it a disorder because I don't. It's just post-traumatic stress, right? And depending on the environment, it can get up there, and it makes me very unpleasant to be around. And when I go to concerts or when I went to the football game for Alabama out at the Rose Bowl, I was on edge. I enjoyed myself, but there were moments where I was just wanted to punch somebody in the face. And last night was no different, right? And some concerts I'll prepare myself ahead of time, like when Rush came to town and AC/DC came. I want to go watch them in DC. I prepared myself because those are two bands I really wanted to see. Right, Dave Matthews Band, they're here every year, so if I can't see them one year, it's not going to, be the end of the world. So I bought seats out at the lawn and, got there early to make sure we could pick out where we're going to sit. Got our rental chairs and sat down, and then people were sitting around us. And I always make sure to extend my legs out, and it almost looks like I'm lying down in my chair. And the reason for that is because I want to make sure that people aren't on top of me, right? And sure enough, there was this one group that came in about 15 minutes before the concert started, and there were four of them, eventually turned into eight of them. And at least they just stood, and they weren't they jammed eight people into an area where only three people should be. So more power to them for making that work. One of the young ladies stepped on my foot. I had to bite my tongue. I know she thought it was funny because I wanted to take my thumbs and I wanted to shove them into her eye sockets and keep going until I reached the back of her skull, right? Because that's how on edge I was, but I did not. Then another group came in, three young men, and they had their three girlfriends, and another young man showed up. So it was a total of seven of them, and they packed in seven people and their chairs into an area where, again, only three people should be sitting, and more power on them. And they understood. They showed up like 5 minutes before the concert started. So they did the best they could. They weren't asking people to move. They were very pleasant. And I actually, leaving, I felt bad for kind of being a prick, right? So why do I mention all this? Oh, and then right next to me, there was a hippie lady, an older lady. I'm 50, and if I'm saying she's older, she's what, 55, 60, somewhere around there. She's dancing the entire concert, and she had her drink in her hand. She spilled it on me a couple of times. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to cause a scene. My daughter was with me, right? And multiple times she came about an inch from hitting my head with her fist, right? Not on purpose, not throwing a punch or anything, just with her dancing. And so I was doing the best I could just to relax, right? And again, why did I bring this up? One, I have PTS. That doesn't mean I should just stay home and not experience life. I bought my tickets. I paid attention to the rules that they sent me, the instructions. Arrive early, buy premium parking so you don't have to deal with a bunch of nonsense where all the lepers park, right? In general parking, the free parking. So that's what I did. And, you know, people even screwed that up, right? Because people were trying to get into premium parking for free. It's like, that's not how it works, bro. You got to pay $30. It's $30. It's not $3,000. It's just $30, right? You're going to spend what? A beer is $15. You're going to buy like 4 beers. Just reduce it. Have 2 beers, right? And then you can buy premium parking, but do whatever you want. But they screwed that up. And so I followed all the instructions, got there early, got my rental chairs, made sure I got my spot, did everything. So I did everything I could so I could reduce my symptoms of PTS. Now, my PTS is nobody else's problem. The people young girl who stepped on me, that was a pure accident. She didn't do it intentionally. There was no malice in her intent. And they weren't plotting against me to like, hey, let's see if we can just get this dude to lose his cool. The 7 people who showed up late, they showed up late, but they just wanted to see the concert. And even the hippie lady next to me, she was just enjoying herself. My mental health is not their problem. Their mental health, their well-being is not my problem, right? I hear a lot from from veterans saying, well, this country would be better if we all took care of ourselves. This country would be better if our country has never done that. We have never looked out after each other. We look out after ourselves. And if we look out after ourselves and make sure we're okay, we have food, water, we can pay our bills, we can spend time with our family, take care of ourselves, our physical and our mental health, then we can move on to trying to help other people. But until we can take care of our basics, like what are you trying to do? You're trying to help the rest of the country before you're okay? No. And I want to help veterans. I want to help people, but I have to take care of my mental health first, right? I have to take care of my physical health. So for the people that went to the DMB that were sitting around me, if I seemed a little, it seemed like I was a prick, it's probably because I was doing the best I could not to just stab you in the face, right? And you guys spilling drinks on me, stepping on me, and bumping into me. It's okay. I know there was no malice in your intent, right? You weren't trying to harm me. All right. So now let me move on to my next topic. So this coworker, right? He was a master sergeant. He's getting out. He's the end of July. He's out, right? He's going to start his terminal leave, I think, next week. So he's going to be out next August 1st. July 28th is his last official day in the military, right? And we're talking about because people have told him, of course, people in the military told him, hey, make sure you get your insurance before you get out, because if you get out, you'll never be able to get insurance, term life insurance. It'll be impossible, right? He asked me about VGLI. I said it was an option. I chose not to do it because the rates went up after every 5 years, and it was just too high. It wasn't for me. So I have, like I said, 4 policies right now, and I just took out another one for $350,000. But this term is only for 15 years, and I was asked why only for 15. It's like because in 15 years I'll be 65, and at 65, my policies there'll be 5 of them. They're going to, after every few years, they're going to drop off. If I'm 78 years old, I should not be paying premiums on life insurance that totals $2 million. Shouldn't. It's not worth it, because I'll be 78. My wife will be 77. So how much longer is she going to live after that? Like it just serves no purpose. But I took this policy out because we purchased a new house. I wanted to make sure that there would be sufficient money to pay off this house, and then they would have more money to do whatever, travel the world, start a fight club, whatever they want to do, right? And I told this master sergeant, yes, everyone that is giving you this advice, it's good advice. If you can get life insurance before you get out, go get it. And $400,000 is not enough. That's what the military tells you. And then when you get out and you actually look at what health insurance costs and just what life actually costs, it's like, that's not enough. Your family is going to burn through that within a few years, couple of years. They're going to be done, right? So you need to have more life insurance than that 400,000 token life insurance that the military offered you. So I told them, go get a quote. What is it going to hurt you? They're not going to charge you to get the quote, right? And they're going to quote you. They're going to say, okay, we'll give you, like they quoted me, like we'll give you 350,000 for 15 years with a monthly payment of $60, right? 60 or 65. I said, okay. It's like, and that's based off of just average health. It's like, so depending on where your medical records come in, it's going to either go up or go down. It's like, yeah, I know. But once they get my medical records in and they do the little physical, they're going to give me a revised quote, right? And if I don't like it, I can say no and just walk away. I don't have to get more life insurance, right? Why did I bring this up? Because this will be the third policy I received after I was medically retired from the military. So my medical records show that my shoulders are shot, my hip is shot. Turns out the life insurance company doesn't really care too much about that because I'm not jumping out of airplanes anymore. I'm not carrying a rucksack. I'm not a construction worker. I'm not Van Damme in Bloodsport, right? I'm not a UFC fighter. I'm not doing anything dangerous. I sit behind a computer. So what are they looking at? They're looking at my weight, and they told me, you're fat. Yes, I know. I was born fat. I lived my life fat. And guess what? I'm going to die fat. But look, they looked at my cholesterol, and my cholesterol came in at 210. They said, that's a little high. And the reason why it's a little high is because my HDL, the good cholesterol, is 66, right? They wanted about 50. That's about normal. The range is between 45 and 65. Um, Mine is 66. They said that's not a problem. It's only 1 point higher. That could have just been one day a fluke, right? But the higher it is, the higher my total cholesterol is going to go up. So they said not a big deal, um, because it's your good cholesterol that's making your total cholesterol go up. Two, they looked at my blood sugar level and it came in at 96. Wow, wow, what a surprise, right? In 20 years in the military, it was always coming in at 107, 108, 109, right? And why? Because I was stress eating. Because the military life is an unhealthful lifestyle, right? And now that I'm not in the military, I can just relax and enjoy life, and I'm not stress eating. I'm not eating, just garbage all day long. I never drank those energy drinks, but the pre-workout stuff. I'm not doing anything like that stuff, right? And yes, I still have sweets. I'll still eat some candy here and there, but I'm not, chugging it like I used to. They're like, yeah, your blood pressure's coming in at 120 over 75. It's like, yeah. So my rate is actually still the same, $60 a month for 350,000. Why is that important? Because I've run into a few people that I knew when I was in the military, and I'm not carrying as much muscle as I used to. And they told me that, man, you're looking scrawny. Are you okay? Like you're looking sick. It's not that I'm looking sick, and it's not that I'm scrawny. It's that they're obese. They're morbidly obese. If you put on so much weight that you can no longer see your penis, you might want to do something about it. Because you're no longer just fat. You're now morbidly obese, bro. And you need to do something about it. And you could say, yeah, well, I'm getting stronger. The reason why you're getting stronger is not because you're pushing yourself to the limit at the gym. It's because you're so fat that your body has to carry that extra weight. That's what it is. So what's my point? My point is take care of yourself. We retired from the military. We did not retire from life. Don't be one of those guys that gets out and you just pound beer and eat as much food as you can, and then you die within a couple of years. What's the point? Why do 20 plus years just to die after a couple of years of retirement? Like it makes no sense. But it's your life. You do what you want. That's just my recommendation. All right. So just two more topics, right? So one, I talked about imposter syndrome, and I want to talk a little about my inferiority complex. Right, I don't feel like I'm good enough. Well, what's the difference, right? Well, imposter syndrome is, you feel like you're a phony, right? And when I first joined the military, I thought I kind of felt like an imposter. And then I made it to the 82nd, and I looked around. It's like, yeah, there's a bunch of idiots around here. I'm not an imposter. I'm actually an overachiever here. That's the problem. Maybe that was a little arrogant, but it was correct. It was the correct assessment. And so then I switched over to civil affairs, special operations, and again felt like an imposter, right? Like maybe I don't belong here. And then I looked around again, and it's like I don't know, maybe I do, maybe I don't. And then I met Benny Goodtimes, and then I realized no, yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing as the 82nd. Um, I'm an overachiever. It may not have seemed like that, but I was. And yeah, in my college um, academic career, I felt like an imposter, right? Because of my experience at UC Irvine with the white kids and the Asian kids back in 1992 and 93 telling me that the only reason why I was accepted to an engineering program there was because I was a minority and affirmative action was the only reason why I was allowed in. And so that stuck with me right throughout my academic career. And then what hit me was when I was going to night school, when I was in the 82nd, right? I was taking my English 101 class. And I don't like to speak up in class unless I have something to add. And I finally said something about, it was an 8-week class, and I said something about 4 weeks in. And there's one guy there. I was about 27 at the time. He was in his early 40s, and I disagreed with him. And his point was, you don't say anything. You just sit there. You've never said anything the entire 4 weeks. You just sat there like a bump on the log, and now you want to say something. And my one response is like, bro, I don't know if you know this, but you're in your 40s and you're working on your associates. Like, what are we doing here? Like, seriously. Like, it took you 40 years to figure out that you should get an education. And yeah, was that rude? Yeah. Was that arrogant? Definitely. And it was also correct. So I no longer feel like I'm an imposter. I know I belong wherever I am. I know I belong. I might not be the best suit. I know I'm not the best person in that group, but I belong wherever I am, whatever group I'm in. I belong. Right now, I'm this tomorrow is the deadline for a book chapter on women initiatives in furthering women in leadership positions. Right. I am not the foremost expert on that topic, but I belong. I belong in that group. There's 6 of us. I might be 6 of 6. 6 of 6 is still better than not being in that group, right? And I belong in that group. I know it, right? So what's inferiority complex? Inferiority complex means that I just don't feel like I'm good enough, right? That's why I keep going. When I earned an associate's degree, it's like I knew that wasn't enough. I knew that wasn't going to be enough for my parents to make them proud. I knew it wasn't enough to set the example for my children. So I earned a bachelor's. And then once I earned my bachelor's, I thought, oh, all right, well, I've achieved more than anybody else in my family, so that should be good enough. And that lasted all of about 5 minutes. And I realized, that's not good enough. I have to keep pushing. I owe it to my parents to get something more. And so I kept going for more degrees. And now I'm working on this PhD. And when I run, right, I try to run to the best of my ability that day. Does that mean it's the fastest? No. Um, but I'm dealing with injuries, so it's to the best of my ability. And when I come back, I feel better, but I know I could have run more efficiently or put in a better run. I didn't put in a full effort. I don't feel like it's enough. I don't feel like I'm worthy of saying that I've earned something. I was asked like, why don't you celebrate your wins? One, because my parents, I don't think I ever saw my parents celebrate any of their victories, so I don't celebrate my victories. And I also don't think if I set a goal, accomplishing it, it's not, it's I shouldn't praise it. It's like I expected to accomplish that. Um, I don't know if this is making any sense, but I keep pushing myself because I don't feel like it's enough. I don't feel like I'm good enough. Um, so how does that relate? Well, how can I feel like I'm not good enough, but I feel like I belong? Because I look around me, I look around the group around me, and like, I'm just as good as that person. I'm just good as that person. I compare myself to other people. It's like, I know I belong in this group, but I don't feel like I've done enough to merit praise for myself. I think I can do more. I think I have the potential to be as great as I want to be. All right. So I don't know if anybody else is going through that, but it can mess with your mind. And so I have to just take time to remind myself, like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Like, you don't have to split the atom today. Today, you can just, write your part of that book chapter, or you can revise the book chapter, or you can just do your assignments for the PhD program, whatever it is. Maybe you could just go for a 3 mile run. That might be sufficient for today. And for any of you who are out there listening, it's like, don't compare yourselves to others. I do that, right? But it takes a toll on your mental health. So don't, if you can resist that, then resist it. Don't do that. Just try to be the best version of you. That leads me into my last topic. So, I've been pretty rough on sergeant majors in here because honestly, the majority of the sergeant majors um, I met in my military career were kind of douches. Well, they weren't kind of douches. They were douches. They were just arrogant SOBs who talked a lot, but it meant nothing. Right? They're like, if you stop and you look back about what they talked about, it was really a whole lot of nothing, like bullets for an NCOERs. For those of you who are out there that were in the military, and if you don't realize this, everything that was written in your what you did that year, nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit. Like you could have written on there that you took 50 naps in a month, or that you cured cancer. Nobody gave a shit. When it came time for the board, they just went down and they looked at the Raider remarks, maybe, but they looked at the senior Raider remarks, and then that's it because nobody gave a shit, right? And I hate to break that to you, but that's the case. That's what it comes down to. That's why I would laugh when I'd have people tell me, "Well, your NCOR needs to say this." That's like, no, no, it doesn't. And when I would have people correct my writing for NCOER, is like, "Well, this is not proper writing." It's like, actually, yes, it is, you moron. You're just writing in the military style, which is incorrect. Normal people do not write like this. And so the majority of the sergeant majors that I met in my military career were not as smart as me. That sounds arrogant, but it's the truth. They weren't. They just weren't as smart as I was. And I'll tell you, give you one example. I had this one guy in my last unit when I was a first sergeant. I was airborne commander twice and primary jump master um, once in a span of 90 days, right? And when I ran one of the jumps, not because I wanted to, but because everybody else would take a step back, all right? So yeah, I'll do it, whatever. And I had this little short, fat guy telling me, well, the way you run the jump, it's like, it's good, but you should do this and this because we don't want to waste anybody's time. It's like, he's not worried about people like actually executing the jump to standard and making sure we get people out of the aircraft and safe. He's worried that a little PFC is wasting their time. Like, are you kidding me? Now, I went to jump master school, advanced airborne school in 2005 as a sergeant, as an E5. This person went in 2010 as a master sergeant. And the only reason why he went was so he could be a first sergeant. He had to go, and he had to pass. I don't know how many times he was airborne commander or primary, but I know it wasn't as many times as I was. So why would I listen to this guy? Like, he wants to tell me how to write NCOERs, how to make my sentences more effective. He had an associate's degree. At that time, I already had 2 masters working on my 3rd. What are we doing here? You're a buffoon, right? So I want to talk about these 2 sergeant majors. I won't give out their names, but they retired over the past couple of years, and they retired from special operations. And one started up this. They both started up their own businesses, and one is pest control, and working out in like Pinehurst, Southern Pines area. Another one just started their doing like mirrors, glass, decorative glass, right? And these guys have moved on. They gave up that there's sergeant major rank, and they're moving on with their life, and that's awesome. That's what we're looking for, is for people to just move on. Go live your life. If you want to be like my calculus professor at Irvine and just be a surfer, do that. If you want to do like some of my compadres and just live off of your retirement and smoke marijuana, go ahead and do that. I know a couple of people who have started program and project management jobs, people who are moved into finance, or you just want to do a contracting job like me, go ahead. But just figure out what it is and move on. Like, let the military go. Like, it'll be all right. I was on LinkedIn and I saw this one post about something, and people were talking about how their PTSD was worse than others, and their service mattered more than others because they were, yes, you deployed, but you were a FOBIT, or okay, you deployed, but you only left the wire twice, or you were in a firefight, but you weren't hit by IEDs or EFPs, you weren't on the initial invasion. It's like, who cares? Who cares? There's this one guy, he was a Marine, and he was like, the only people who really mattered are people who deployed, and if you were in infantry or special operations. He was an infantry officer, so he had to equate his time as an infantry officer as equal to being in special operations. Bro, who cares? Who cares? You did your job. You swore your oath. You went, you did the best you could. Okay? It's all right. If you want to say that you saved Iraq, or like you're the love child of John Rambo and, I don't know, Gomer Pyle from a Full Metal Jacket, go ahead. If you want to say that's your PTSD level, go right ahead. I don't care. Just move on from all that nonsense, man. Like, it's in our rear view. All right. So again, this is just a little short episode, 30 minutes, just my opinions, my ranting. Yes, if you look, I'm going to go tee out, and the reason for that is because at the end of July, GalaxyCon will be here again, and Danny Trejo is going to be here. Danny Trejo is a Latino like me, from East LA, I think, but he was a gang member, did some prison time, got out, and I forgot how, but he ended up getting into acting, and he had like one role he could play was a gang member, right? Whether it was in a serious role or a comedic role. That's it. That's all Danny Trejo could do. And he's had a very successful career. He's opened up his Danny Trejo Tacos. And I want to go meet this dude because being from a gang member on the streets of East LA to doing hard time in the prison to now going around to the cons and having a bunch of nerds pay you money for your autograph and to stand next to you and take a picture, that's pretty awesome. And so I want to meet this guy. And I told my wife, I'm not going to go meet Danny Trejo without having like the stash. This will probably go away. I want to have at least my stash down to here. So, all right, I'm going to take off because I'm going to go watch some lucha. And for those of you who don't know that, it's wrestling. So again, just remember you have something that makes you special. You have something that makes you unique. Identify what it is, maximize it to its fullest potential, and I'm sure you'll be successful. Oh, one last thing. I want to give a shout out to my daughter, Ashley. She'll be starting graduate school in August. She's going to go to UNC Greensboro and earn her MBA. So shout out to my daughter. So until next time, everybody, zot, 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 and roll tide.